Hello, audience. Hello, speakers. What- There we go. We have everyone here. Audience, thank you so much for joining us. How is my mic? My mic sometimes it's a little spotty. It's good.
Loud and
Um,
clear.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I was talking with my speakers backstage, and we are impressed. It's already August 1st, right? This year is flying by. I'm going to start with an icebreaker while we give the audience a few minutes to join us here for this event. And since the Olympics are going on right now, I am dying to go see the gymnastics. But this is going to be more interesting than that. I'm going to ask my speakers if you could pick a sport from the Olympics that you think like you could excel at, what would you pick? I'm going to start with Christine because she made a nervous face.
Given my excellent athletic abilities, probably none, but I think the most interesting would be maybe breakdancing or gymnastics, something that really pushes you physically. It's pretty interesting. And I think that'd be a cool, at a party, like, look what I can do. I can break dance.
Right? Uh, that's new in the Olympics. I am really excited to see that. What about you, Patrick? What would you pick?
I should say triathlon because I've done some Ironman myself, but I want to pick something more fun and something we don't have in the States, which is handball. It always looks so exciting to play. It's like a mix of basketball and soccer. My daughter, who's 6, is so confused by being able to do two hands. Anyways, I'd say handball.
Handball is very violent. I played it. I'm from Brazil. It's very popular in Brazil. I played it in high school. Did not like it. Very violent. What about you, Jeff?
Yeah, I would have to go with wrestling. I wrestled in high school and college, and my claim to fame, fun fact, is I actually lost to an Olympic bronze medalist while I was wrestling in college. Let's just say I didn't have a great career at that level. That would probably be it.
That's cool. That's a cool sport and a cool fun fact about you. Audience, let us know in the chat which sport you would you pick. Kimmy said diving. Diving is cool. I would do diving too. But let's start this event way more interesting than the Olympics. We are here today to talk about the what to do with your GTM efficiency. Um, and this event is brought to you by the team at Modern Sales Pros. For those of you not familiar with Modern Sales Pros, welcome. We are the world's largest and finest community for more than 35,000 members. That's right, we have 35,000 people. And they're all in management, leadership, operations, and enablement. We are all about taking the road less traveled and bringing you along for the journey with us. Our mission is to help you tackle tough questions and discover opportunities you might not even know exist. And we do this through vibrant live sessions like this one you're about to experience. We have an engaging online forum, and we have our must-attend summits. And we are expanding to an array of in-person events. We have Dreamforce coming up. We have a happy hour in Dreamforce. We're also going to be at Upstars. Lean Data event. So make sure to sign up for those events. I'm going to put a link in the chat during the event. If you're not part of the MSP team yet, we will review your details and send an invitation if you qualify to join our community right after this event. Let's talk a little bit about housekeeping. This event is being recorded, so you will receive the recording and have access to the knowledge that the speakers will drop on you anytime soon. So right after this event, the MSP team will make sure that you will receive the recording. So keep an eye out for an email from me today. And another thing I was talking about with the speakers in backstage is that they love questions. We are like, oh my God, how is August already? We are all so tired. But one thing to fire them up is to answer your questions. So audience, make sure you are using the Q&A function in the chat to ask your questions, and they will answer them all during the event. Um, One thing I didn't mention about Modern Sales Pros is that we have the best partners in business ever. And today, this event is sponsored by the team at Lean Data. We have Christine here. She is going to tell us a little bit more about Lean Data soon, but there is an important button at the top of this page where you can request a demo with our sponsor. So Christine will give us a lot of details about Lean Data during this event. If you like what she's saying, you can click that button and the team will get in touch with you later today. But for right now, let's Christine will be our moderator. Christine, I'm going to pass the mic to you. I'm going to go backstage to take some notes on everything that you're saying and talking. But you can take it from here. Have fun and introduce yourself. Introduce us to Lean Data.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I didn't refine my sales pitch, so you're going to get the RevOps version of it. First, I am the VP of RevOps at Lean Data. That does encompass sales ops, marketing ops, customer success ops, enablement, deal desk, and analytics. So we cover all of the functions across the organization. We are a startup, and our product helps sales teams, revenue teams, customer success teams, pretty much anyone at your organization connect the dots in your data. We connect leads to accounts. We do routing of accounts. We do updating of records. It's the orchestration behind all the data in the disparate systems. And we allow users to do that in an easy drag and drop, no code format. So that's a little bit about us here at Lean Data and what I do and what I manage. Patrick, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks for having me. Today, I am a frontline manager at Twilio. In our high-tech vertical, I manage about $60 million worth of revenue across a pretty large book of business. A lot of the intent data we use today is really around hunting within holding companies to try to get new brands and new use cases. Previous to this, quick background, Series A, Series B startups, either consulting those leaders or working as go-to-market leaders like VP sales and marketing. So also very versed with cold calling process, warm leads, intent, all the way through to closing and ultimately growing those accounts too.
Yeah, and my name's Jeff Kirchick. I'm the VP of Sales at Allware, which is an early stage startup based out of New York City. Been spending my career working in kind of the earlier stage of startups. Also wrote a book, I think about 4 years ago, Authentic Selling, How to Use the Principles of Sales in Everyday Life, which talks about, well, at the time was talking about how AI was going to enter the world of sales and what we all need to do about it and whatnot. So I'm excited about the conversation today.
Awesome. Welcome, everyone. So let's get started. We want to talk a little bit about the state of go-to-market efficiency, and Lean Data, along with a handful of other vendors, created and sent out a survey to pull the sales and revenue teams and marketing teams to understand what is the state of their go-to-market business strategies and efficiencies, and what are they seeing? What are some themes and trends? And how can we get ahead of them? How can we learn from each other? And how can we understand where we're at and the gaps to where we want to be? So the survey was sent out and over 200 revenue professionals responded, most of them in the US, UK, and Canada, but there were global responses. And I think the results were not too surprising, but there are small nuances to what we're seeing. So the go-to-market strategies and motions are shifting just a bit. We're refining what we have, and there is a shift there I want to talk about. That's number one. Number two, growth is still a concern. I think it's always a concern. One thing that we are seeing is that while 2023 was a challenge, people are feeling hopeful, optimistic, cautiously optimistic about 2024. And, we're halfway through, so we'll see if that's playing out. Marketing and sales alignment is still important, especially as we integrate a lot of data, a lot of tech across the organization. That alignment is now more important than ever. And I think we're making progress, but there's still challenges there. AI is helping, but it's a commitment. It's a long play. It's a short-term win, long-term play, and efficiency is still hard. So let's get into it and ask some questions to our panelists here. The way I'm going to do this is going to be a lightning question, kind of a yes, no, maybe answer, and then a longer question so we can talk about the details. The first thing is go-to-market motions. We are seeing, like I talked about, a little bit of a shift. Oops, let me change that slide. There we go. Account-based is still up there, but buying groups, opportunity-based, buying committees, whatever you want to call it, is on the rise. And we are still focused on ABM, and you can never refine your strategies enough, not only with new tech, new process, new market trends. But yeah, we are seeing a rise on opportunity-based go-to-market with buying groups focused there. So the lightning question is, are you adopting or considering adopting buying groups?
I'll go. Yes. I think we already do this today in enterprise sales. So yes.
I'll also say yes.
Awesome. So also here too, and I think everyone may not realize it, or they do, I'm guessing, that they've already dipped their toes into opportunity-based selling. Now it's just about refining that approach to be truly opportunity-based, a little bit away from the account-based and a little bit into the opportunity-based. So in 2024, have you seen changes in your go-to-market strategies, and have sellers been open to adopting them? Why don't we start with Patrick?
Yeah, I think so. We have a field marketing group. We have an account-based marketing group. And I will say, though, although we call them those monikers, we've always kind of done opportunity-based selling anyways. A lot of, if I think about the orchestration, using Salesforce, opening an opportunity, tagging those campaigns, like we're still orienting towards putting marketing dollars and sales effort towards real opportunities that are tangible and that are going to move forward. Now, in some cases, we may take some flyers and do some traditional ABM just to try to get some involvement, because that's a target account for whatever reason, right? In our patch. But I would say even today, I can think about one of the events I just went to. We actually got a suite at the Wrexham Chelsea exhibition match in San Jose. If you're familiar with Ryan Reynolds, he owns a soccer team. He has a whole Netflix series on it. Anywho, I took a long shot, and we invited one of our top customers who also has a major open opportunity. And we were able to get like 16 people from across the Bay Area to a suite. And again, I think it's very worth it, because a lot of the criteria that we applied was, okay, it has to be a big target account, has to have a big open opportunity, and there has to be some momentum in that opportunity. And so what we're trying to do is now apply that in-person touch to really accelerate those conversations that just don't really happen over Zoom, right? So I would say that overall, yes, and we're really starting to refine that opportunity-based, although we don't call it that.
Yeah, I have seen that too. What I've also seen with opportunity-based is really using technology and automation to ensure that all the touch points that we have are captured on the opportunity, so that we have a holistic reporting and understanding of who's involved from the internal perspective and the external perspective. What does success look like? And on my open opportunities, am I setting myself up for success? Have I put the right people on the opportunity at the right time? Or is that a risk identifier? So yeah, that's that refinement you're talking about, but totally agree.
And I'll add just one layer too, which I think is super important. I don't know if it's necessarily part of this, but Twilio has a mix of challenger sales with command to message, which is all really run the same thing, which is talking to your buying group, finding that mobilizer or that champion who's in that, right, who's going to actually champion that opportunity forward. And so I do think a lot of how we think about go-to-market motion is the enablement side, and how we train people to think about that buying group is really important, from SDR to AE, AM, CSM, however you orchestrate your own go-to-market, like getting that lens of, okay, I'm a challenger, or I'm a, command a message, or whatever methodology you use, like having that focus around that buying group is important. I don't know, Jeff, if you have some commentary from your lens.
Yeah, no, for sure. My company is much smaller than Twilio, so we're at like a different type of inflection point. But what we have a very a big market for what we sell, and we drive a ton of inbound traffic every single month. We've been getting 60 to 80 qualified inbound leads every single month, and these are very transactional, very fast moving deals, customers with a white hot pain point. And I think we feel good that we've built that motion successfully. We've established good product market fit, good go-to-market fit there. But then the next logical step is, hey, we want to move up market. We want to be able to get these customers that are stickier. Obviously, they spend more money with us. What do we need to do to learn about what we need to do there? And so we are starting to see a little bit more of the account-based and opportunity-based with buying groups type of motion, because even within some of our existing larger accounts, I'm specifically allocating a lot of my time this quarter into getting in there and figuring out like, hey, what are the common trends amongst these types of customers, the things that they're asking for, the things that we need to try to work on to deliver. In a way, I'm kind of a conduit to product and operations internally with my team. And so, it's kind of like with any go-to-market motion where you're going out and, trying to establish product market fit. Your first salesperson's kind of like the forging, the trailblazer in a way, right? So that's kind of what we're doing. We're a smaller company. We're at an inflection point where we're kind of building out new motions because, the lead-based motion is one that, seems to already be functioning pretty well.
Awesome. And what I don't want to forget is that this motion, it definitely can be applied to customers too. I mean, you think sales reps are bad at entering data? When you have multiple people managing an account post-sales, it is very easy to lose the data and the touch points. And so a lot of what I focused on this year is trying to automate that so that people don't have to do the things they don't want to do, but they get the information from the data in the system. And it's ever evolving, but I definitely don't want to forget the customer side of this. And we're going to talk a little bit about that later on as well. But what I did hear originally when Patrick was talking was events are working.
Yeah.
In person is really helpful. And I wanted to add to that new markets and new verticals. We are seeing success going in internationally or in parts of even domestic where we haven't had a lot of traction, because those areas, they might either be, same with verticals, they might either be newer to adopt technology, slower to adopt technology, and now they're ready. We see an adoption here in the Bay Area a little bit more quickly than we do at companies not here and not in the tech vertical. So events, new verticals, new markets have also been really successful for us. Okay. Next up, growth challenges. So people are still concerned about pipeline, about qualified opportunities, converting opportunities, and revenue. These numbers, I say anything around 40 or 50 is legit. And then these are pretty high up there. Growth is a challenge, converting and identifying, having enough pipeline. I keep hearing that over and over again. So how companies are combating the growth challenges, they are finding a few different ways. Let me get to the next slide. I'm not very good at this slide stuff. I was surprised to hear that a third of companies ranked new tech investments and tech consolidation in their top 3 priorities. So tech is still a priority. And 43% said data hygiene is a priority. I think this will never go away. I take a lot of pride in my data hygiene. I love Friday delete sessions because data destruction is also part of your data hygiene. How much you keep, is it relevant? Do we have the right data? So I love seeing that, but I hate seeing it because if it's important to me, I like seeing it, but I hate seeing it because it's still a problem. It's still a problem. And also building resilient teams, because what I did notice personally is that some of the people who are on the teams today haven't experienced this type of market challenge in the past. Some of us who've been around a little longer know how to weather the storm, but building teams that understand how to weather the storm, how to stick it out, how to be successful in a downturn is super important. So the lightning question: did your company implement new technology this year?
Yes.
Yes.
So that's the note to self. Companies are buying. Okay. That's I'm buying. I said this year, no, we're going to be super stable. We got things to do. Nope. Still buying tech. So that's a good news for sellers out there. And it's a good news for companies out there. People are buying. Okay. So in the responses for how to combat growth challenges, we did see kind of two varying themes. And I won't say they're contradictory, they're just two varying themes. One is some leaders are doubling down on pipeline and revenue from new business, refining that approach, using automation and AI to increase their chances of success. On the flip side, and this may be where Patrick is focusing his time, curious to find out, is focusing on metrics other than net new revenue, retaining current customers, improving profit margins, and balancing that slowing growth on the new business side with customer retention, adoption, and growth. So, being that I put you on the spot there, Patrick, let's start with you. Are you prioritizing one over the other?
I mean, for us, it's still all about top line revenue. We do have a kind of a margin component built in, and I'm speaking specifically to how do we compensate and motivate sales reps to make the right decisions. I mean, ultimately, driving revenue comes down to PG, pipeline generation, opening new opportunities. And a lot of what Twilio does is a little different because we're product-led growth. A lot of it's based around maybe like hackathons and planting seeds and trying to get people to test and use different functions. And then once we get that, we get that hook, we layer it in. Speaking of new technology, my team's testing and has been demoing a technology called Coast, which just allows for like rapid slide creation and like interactive demos that are, in our opinion, for me, it blends the implication of pain and like anticipation of gain from the sales psychology side of it with now I have this ability to put an ROI to what I'm doing. And I can not only just pitch that to the customer, but now I can actually give them that demo. I can empower my champion to go sell internally and actually demo my product to his buying group. So Christine, comes full circle back to you, which is, yeah, for us, it's still about PG and pipeline generation. How we do that now, we're trying to loop in new technology and ways to just empower those buying committees to make faster decisions with a mix of like, okay, pain and fear of loss, as well as like, okay, what's the ROI in this? Because at the end of the day, that's what most companies are caring about.
Is your ROI usually a number or is it a value?
I mean, it's a mix, and I also have to be careful not to just sell on numbers, right? Because a lot of what Twilio competes against in the market are more tangible things that are related to, right? I mean, people buy for a couple of reasons, 3 reasons. They buy to make money, save money, or mitigate risk. And so a lot of what Twilio does is how do we create some fear, uncertainty, doubt around risk mitigation, where our competitors don't have things like compliance and other issues that they're looking out for. So it's not always just about numbers, but it is about, okay, there are some insurance or assurance type qualities to how we think about the lifetime value of our product within our customers' install base, you know?
Yep, absolutely. Jeff?
Yeah. Well, first off, Patrick, great shout out to Coast. Very little known new tool. That's a great tool. Another one that's out there that we've been looking into is not really the same thing, but similar space, is a company called Reach Suite that helps automate a lot of like demo and discovery type work, like where a customer can kind of come to your website and experience your real product, like clicking through it. And I think just accelerating, because buyers want to do like 80% of their own research before they contact you these days. And so giving them more of that access is pretty critical. So I like those suggestions. To answer the question, Christine, I mean, we're certainly investing across the board. We built an outbound motion this year, in addition to the inbound one I already mentioned. So we are trying to increase lead flow. We're looking at events, conferences, like webinars, content marketing. We're making investments there. But I will say, like, if there's one thing where we're focused more than the other, it is more on the process and the sales side and the top line revenue, and more so than net retention and pipeline generation. And that's just fundamentally because I feel that if you have what I call a leaky bucket of any sort, that you just don't want to overinvest in, putting too much water into that leaky bucket. I'm not saying we have a leaky bucket, but if you look at like Q1 over Q2 and you look at your results and how they're trending over time, we start to see some elongated sales cycles, slight dip in conversions, things like that. And so we have to like go back and diagnose that. And that might include even like retraining the team. We're a unique business in that we're a consumption-based model. So customers can just kind of sign up and start using the product whenever they want. And so my philosophy, even when it comes to like the how well adopted that customer is on the CS side, is that still fundamentally stems from how they were sold. Like if we have a lazy sales process where someone crosses the finish line, they might not be fully adopted because we didn't get them past the emotional state of why they're buying and into the logical state on, what the value is of the product. And as much as we know buyers will buy emotionally, and that can help us as sellers, we still want them to have a rational decision-making process because we need them to align our product to some sort of value in the longer term, right? So that's something that I think is where we're spending a lot of our focus right now.
Jeff, how often do you use sales velocity as a metric? If you're familiar, right? It's just 4 parts. Number of leads times sales price times win rate divided by time and stage. Like I don't use that as much anymore because my buying persona is pretty different across verticals, right? But that was always my go-to when I was heading up a team like your size. Are you using that?
Yeah, we look at the velocity as like a key metric, and that was one of the things we flagged. Is like, hey, we're getting into some more competitive situations. It's probably elongating the sales cycle. So yeah.
That's always a good one because you can unpack each of those metrics and kind of work your way back to, okay, is this a marketing thing? Is my SDR not doing the right script? Do I not have the right deal in front of the customer? Is it a competitive? Like you can really unpack pretty well and diagnose the business. Yeah. Oh, I will put that in the chat.
Yes, please, or put in your recommendations because I heard 2 things. One is for me, ROI is so interesting. It's so important. I don't really like the numbers as much as I like the value that it adds to a process, to adoption, to a feeling. And feelings are hard to measure, but if people like tech, they're more likely to adopt it. No matter how good some piece of tech is, I don't always get it adopted if people don't feel like it's adding a benefit, and that's hard to measure as a number. And I really liked the fact that we talked about deal velocity and having buyers set up for success. So allowing them to move through the funnel a little more quickly by giving them control around demos and understanding the value of your product through technology, like the ones you recommended. Because it had me thinking that, I'm going to ask a lightning question I didn't tell you guys about. Did you pick up any phone calls today from SDRs or this week from SDRs? Cold outreach.
Personally, no. Jeff,
Okay.
maybe.
I think I did. Probably.
Accidentally or on purpose?
Probably accidentally. Yeah.
Okay. I will say that, calls may not be working here. That's where we're seeing value in other markets where, the phone is still a thing that is, desk phones still exist. What about emails, cold emails? Have you responded to any cold emails?
Yes. In fact, not only did I respond, but it was something that I'm very interested in.
Did you buy it?
I'm trying to buy it. We'll see if I'm successful. But yeah, it was somebody who reached me at the exact right time for something that I'm looking to do. So, so yeah, if I get a compelling message at the right time, then I'm certainly going to take a look. Timing
is key. I don't always respond, but if I find the message interesting, I start to research. So I think outbound is tricky. It's hard to measure because you can't know what I'm thinking. I might come inbound, but it might be because of outbound. So I find the balance tricky, but we still need both. I definitely believe that. Okay, switching gears just a little bit. Oops, your slide. Okay, there we go. Sales and marketing alignment. So the majority of respondents, about 60%, agreed somewhat that they are aligned to marketing, sales and marketing. But that means that 40, just about 40%, a little under, don't believe that sales and marketing aligned. I think it's moving in the right direction because I don't think we would have seen 60% just a few years ago. But the lightning question is, who do your SDRs report to? Is it up through sales or marketing?
Sales.
Sales here on our new biz team, yeah.
Sales for us too. Okay. It's just, I'm curious sometimes where that lies and if it impacts alignment. So are you implementing strategies or technology to improve the collaboration between sales and marketing? And any new metrics, like a shift from MQLs to pipeline? We've done that shift internally ourselves. We've moved away from measuring the MQLs and we've started measuring marketing's pipeline contribution and their goal on pipeline, whoever creates it. So tying them really closely to a very important sales metric has been good, challenging, but good.
Do you have a certain formula that you use to attenuate like the marketing influence, or is it just, how do you think about that?
We do. Well, I look at influence in two ways. One, I look at it by sales and marketing, and then I look at it inbound, outbound to kind of take it to the next layer, inbound, outbound, or both. It's easier to measure marketing programs than it is to measure sales versus marketing. But yes, I do. We have kind of a model that says within X days, who was most engaged, sales or marketing, to kind of get it's sales or marketing or both. And we're just refining it and rolling it out. But it's because I said, well, what are we going to do with it once we get this information? Is this marketing going to do something different? And the answer is we don't know. We need to see the numbers. And it's really more of a kind of a lagging indicator of where, if there's a problem, but lagging isn't as good as leading, but it's still there to understand, are we aligned? Because that's what we personally, or for our organization, have really focused on. That's why we put everyone working on pipeline. And it has worked so far. It's not perfect, but it's definitely an easier metric that you can't argue about.
I agree. Going in a different direction, when I was in startup land, one of the challenges we had was convincing marketing that our buyers were talking about the product differently than we were writing blogs and whatnot. And I shouldn't say it wasn't tough to convince. It was once we started to implement some technology that could record and transcribe and then like automate that, like through Gong and other tools that do that type of stuff. Feeding marketing those transcripts, I think, really helped with our inbound eventually, because we were iterating on the types of phrases and words that we were using. And so marketers do this today, right? They look at Google search results. They look at what blog articles are getting hit. They look at it. But when we layered in that element of, hey, here's when I'm actually talking on a Zoom call on a pitch with a customer, here's how they're talking about their pains. How do we then, as salespeople, get that back to marketing's hands to say, okay, now let's turn the screw, or turn that one more time just to refine the message, right?
Yeah, we actually did find something very similar as we went across verticals, that the way the words people use is very different, and the use cases are very similar, but the words they use and the value props that they have are just nuanced enough for us to have to take that into consideration when speaking with them, when marketing to them, and I think it's had an impact.
Yeah, on our side, it's a little old school, but what I'm tasked with is essentially working in tandem with our marketing team to build our growth model. So it's kind of like when we talk about alignment, like we have to agree on the numbers. Like fundamentally, we can't be going to the CEO with a model and not have some alignment there. And it's, this thing's a beast, right? It has all of the SQLs. It has the percentage that show, no show. We segment it by ICP and things that are kind of outside of our ICP. We've built kind of out like this new enterprise motion will yield us, and what we're able to do, and we meet on this weekly, right? So like we're able to look in real time and see like, how are we pacing against the growth model? Why are we exceeding or not exceeding the goal? And then what do we need to do to get back on track if we're not there? And it tends to be fairly obvious what's amiss if you're doing this pretty regularly, like where you're having fallout. So I think if you just kind of force the alignment by making sales and marketing jointly responsible for the growth model, you force them to sit in a room together and be kind of talking about that all the time, you're going to get, I think, hopefully what you're looking for.
So who's in that meeting? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, please go ahead. I was going to ask about goal. I'm like, do you use OKRs? Are people compensated on it at high levels on the same metrics? Yeah.
So yes and no. Yes. So yes, but not entirely. So we do have some shared goals across sales and marketing. And so we are shooting for similar North Stars, but then there's also there's also goals that we have more direct control over, if that makes sense. So, but yeah, the answer, I guess, short answer is yes.
It's interesting. What you said was, are they shared goals and are they paid on them? We have some shared goals, but not everyone's paid on them. So that is it. There's a little bit of like, hey, we're driving towards the same thing, but you're paid on, new business, not pipeline, and you are paid on pipeline. So that nuance is not lost on me in that comment. But in that meeting, who's there and who drives the numbers?
Yeah. So it's me, the chief marketing officer, our RevOps lead, the CEO, and the head of like business and finance operations. It's kind of like our right-hand man, the CEO. It's us five. And I will say marketing takes more of a lead on it because we are predominantly inbound. So like most of the leads are being driven by that side of the house, but I contribute now as we have built this outbound motion. And I obviously have to be kind of, I contribute more on, hey, this is what our close rates are. This is what our ACV looks like. This is what I think we can get it to. This is how I think we can, here's how I think we can improve conversion over time, right? That's more what I'm responsible for in that session.
Who drives the numbers or who prepares the numbers? That's my last question. We'll move on.
We both do, like me and the CMO and the RevOps, the three of us, I'd say. Yeah.
I've been tasked. I do all the numbers now. No one gets to bring a separate report, which is kind of interesting. Nice. The first few of those meetings were a lot of talking about how the numbers were created, and now how we got to those numbers. And now we're really focused on analyzing them and coming up with sales plays and programs and identifying risk. So that's been a challenge for us, but also really helped us move in the right direction. Okay, AI. This is somewhat interesting. I think when the respondents were asked which areas they expect AI to impact most, they all went straight to replacing SDR functions, not SDRs, SDR functions. So I thought it was interesting. Want to start with the lightning question. Does your team use AI in its day-to-day processes today?
Yes.
Yes.
Same. On that thread of replacing SDRs, there's so much talk about the SDR's role and what they do. Some of it unfair, some of it's great to question and think and reframe. But do you think AI will replace SDR functions? I don't want to say SDRs, or you can say, do you think they'll replace SDRs? That's a totally reasonable response as well.
No. This is probably the most, of all the questions I saw before the session, this is the one I'm most passionate about. So this is a lot of what I actually wrote about several years ago and what I talk about quite a bit. I don't think this will ever happen, or at least not anytime soon. And there's a pretty simple reason why. If you think about, generally what works is when you zig, when others will zag. The reality is that if everyone starts to incorporate AI into their outreach, then the personalization or the purported personalization or relevance that's being used in AI becomes table stakes, right? And so from the buyer's perspective, they still have it's a finite variable how much time they have to give to evaluating new solutions and responding to cold emails, right? So if it becomes table stakes, then fundamentally what you will need to do is you're going to need to be doing something different if you want to stand out from the crowd. And specifically, Christine, if I reached out to you and said, hey, I see you're in RevOps, right? That's what AI does more or less. It finds something relevant about you, but the insights are always things that you already know about yourself, right? They're not. And so my philosophy on cold outreach is that you need to lean into what AI can't do. AI doesn't have a soul. It doesn't have experiences. It doesn't have likeness to other people. And so people are very tribal. We like to associate with people who are similar to us, who share our values, have similar experiences as us. That's what humans have that AI does not have. So when I reach out to someone and I can find something relevant about them, but tie it back to why it matters to me, that makes me distinctly, I don't know, different, I guess, than what everyone else is going to be doing. And that's going to resonate a lot more with somebody than the AI stuff. So I'm not saying you can't use AI. In fact, we have SDRs in-house and we use an AI outsource tool, and they both work pretty well for kind of like different types of outreach that we're doing. But what I am saying is that I feel like it's an extreme to suggest that it will replace the SDR. All it will actually do is make the SDR need to evolve how they do their job. And if anything, I actually think it makes the SDR job more fun. The SDR job is traditionally not a fun job. It's a lot of emails and cold calls and rejection. I think that job actually gets fun when you can be creative and try to really relate to people on a personal level and show them that you're kind of like on the same team. So I actually think that the SDR job, ironically, will become more desirable in the future. I also think the SDR job will start to have an expanded scope where they're going to be responsible more for like maybe some discovery or research or involvement with that lead. It'll take some time, but that's where I see the SDR role going. I do not see AI wiping it out.
I agree. So we're going to need new skill sets, maybe spend a little more money and have a more, it's not even like, historically an SDR has been like right before you go to sales, right? These are, or it's just, it's like a jumping off. It's like a rite of passage. But we may be hiring different types of people, and it may be a skill set that is on par with like sales and account managers, right? It's right now it's kind of sits below there, but I think if we put it on par and up level it, I think you're right. If everyone's using AI, the differentiating factor is humans.
Yep. I'll play devil's advocate here because I think it's an interesting way to think about it. 20 years ago, 15 years ago, SDRs didn't exist. When I started my career in sales, that wasn't a role. Now it's I think a critical part of the training and up leveling is to have that SDR role. But so to your point of, okay, if SDR's scope is now creeping up more into sales, who's to say that SDRs could go away and sales could automate much more of those tasks that we're talking about, especially if buyers are doing more research, they're not taking discovery calls like I see in the chat here, and we can automate that through AI and through marketing campaigns. What's to say I just can't give leads to sales and not have an SDR function whatsoever? Now, do I think that's going to happen? I don't know. I think there's going to be less SDRs because they'll be more efficient, more effective. And it's an interesting juxtaposition. It's okay, what will happen in 5 to 10 years with that SDR role if there is more efficiency? Why wouldn't we just have sales again? Well, we've been specializing for the past 10, 15 years in tech go-to-market. I don't view that as going away. I don't know, Jeff, if you have a counterpunch to that.
No, I mean, it's a valid point. I certainly agree with you that because of the efficiency gains that you'll see less of them. I mean, it's no different than how, I sold into call centers for a long time, and the more efficiency that they bring into the call center, the less agents they need to hire to field your customer service calls. It's no different, right? And like there's all these tools out there now that can help the SDRs with doing the account research and the buying signals and teeing up all the customer info with the data. You can use generative AI to at least write like a basic template of an email. And, the SDR can just go in and do some basic work on each lead now and keep going. So I think that's a salient point, Patrick. Like, I think there's definitely a good argument to be made. There'll be less of them. One thing like that I've also heard people talk about is just how you're probably going to see just more of a move for it up market. I think a lot of companies are going to want to try to automate more of their lower value leads, right? Like I think even like these tools we talked about, like Reach Suite, for example, that can do like automated discovery and things like that. I don't think that works on like an enterprise buyer, right? Like you're still going to want someone to be doing that outreach. We can debate all day whether it's good to have an SDR reaching out to that person or someone with a a more elevated title, but I do think that that's certainly another trend that you'll see too, along with the one you mentioned around efficiency.
I mean, for AI right now on our account team, we're using it mainly to take meeting notes and craft really killer like benchmark emails after we've landed a big idea. But in like day-to-day comms, I tell my team to think like a Cro-Magnon human. Like the best executives, honestly, write with like chunky sentences. It's one paragraph at a time. It's maybe 5 to 10 words. I'm like, I don't need AI to do that, right? If I need to convey something quickly and accurately, do that. But if I'm trying to set a benchmark and be very careful about my follow-ups and this action items, AI is tremendous for that. Think like a Cro-Magnon human, very, very simple-minded, one-track mind. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. It's incredible. I guess I'll shout out Gong. I don't know if that's what you're using, Patrick, or something else, but like, the meeting notes that they have and the emails that you can just generate after the call. It's actually pretty incredible. It's really impressive. A lot of generative AI is kind of meh, but they've done some good stuff.
Yeah. We do have a question in the chat. I'm going to get to the last question, and then we'll open it up for Q&A, and we can answer the question that is in the chat as well. And so the last topic is everyone cares about go-to-market efficiency, save money. We're hearing a lot of it, but things are getting slower. We have more tech, more data, more process, and yet we're slowing down the sales cycle, the conversions. Maybe not everyone, but it's a trend that the report had seen. So the lightning question is, do you use a scheduling tool for your inbound, or in general, I suppose?
Yes.
Yeah.
And have you found it pretty effective? I mean, for me, once I implemented, we obviously have that product, our Book It product. Our inbound requests, it hovers between 50 and 60% of our inbound goes straight to a meeting, which is impressive. That's that I don't want to say we don't need the SDR. I don't present everyone a calendar. As I said, my forms have standards. Not everyone gets an AE's calendar. That time is precious. So if you meet the criteria, half the time the buyer wants to be in control, they will pick a time and meet with us.
I mean, look, for the right accounts, though, too, there's that where ABM kind of rears its head again. For the right target accounts, if you have a top 100 list or whatever y'all call it, like if they want to get a meeting with me and they're not qualified, but they're on the target list, I'm going to take that call.
Oh, that is qualified.
It's qualified.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just because they hit that list. Right, exactly.
Absolutely. There are different ways to be qualified or unqualified. It doesn't mean we're not going to call you. By the way, we will still have an SDR call you, but you get to bypass that and have more control if you've given us the information that says this looks like an ideal customer for us. And then we have conversations with the others to see if it's a good fit to move forward. So question is, given that we're kind of struggling with that deal progression and the results say it's happening a little bit farther down, like it's harder to close. Maybe we're getting those deals, but it's taking a little bit longer, a little bit harder to close. Are there strategies you're using or tools, technology? I think maybe we might hear Coast come up again here, that you're leveraging to improve that progression, that efficiency at each stage, getting your deals to closure?
I mean, it sounded like Jeff is getting on some of his top sales calls, which is the right approach. That's what I do. That's what I get my leaders on. I mean, sales 101, like get executive alignment early so that when you have to go to negotiate late, you've already built that trust and rapport and you can call on those people at the right level. So getting the title matching is still like a big piece of how we go to market. So yeah, that's a big piece for us. I don't know, Jeff.
Yeah. I'm going to give you another kind of cookie cutter answer, I guess, kind of old school answer, but I really think that a lot of sales problems that occur downstream are really just discovery problems. I really think that most problems stem from how well you run discovery, or even just like even the next stage after discovery. It might be a prep meeting for a demo or something along those lines. A lot of reps are, unfortunately, they're incentivized to just kind of move through the process. And so their goal is to kind of just get things to the next stage. And a lot of times what I need them to do is actually not think of the process as linear. I know that sounds crazy because obviously you do want to move from left to right, but sometimes you need to like bounce around in order to move from left to right, and not just do it all in one fell swoop. And that in Patrick's world, I think that's definitely the case because, you know, he's selling into enterprise, like big accounts where there's a lot of stakeholders and like got to get success criteria. Like if he skips a step, it's really bad. Right. So I think like for me, it really just comes down to like where we reworked our entire discovery guide this past quarter. Just like really have just like sharp discovery and just qualify out very quickly if we just don't think it's viable and stop trying to force things.
Just go immediately, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Just disqualify them immediately. Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, one of the things it's a mindset shift. I've been talking about it for a couple of years. Is like not trying to qualify to sell your product, but how do I qualify to enable that buyer to buy the product? Like,
yeah.
So it's so much. I think it is about disco, but like, how do I ask the right questions that implicate pain, but also have a point of view into that person's business? Not just what it means for their business, but what it means for them and at the individual level and at the company level. And like, you have to hire for that. You have to hire for innate curiosity, people who just want this hunger for information, and they're asking deeper and deeper questions. And a lot of that has to come with, you know, we're fresh off of some Challenger refresh training. Being comfortable living in tension. Like I have to be able to elevate the tension with my buyer and get them to uncover that pain for themselves in their own words, or else I'm just talking at them and it's not super relevant to their company and it's not in their terms. And it's more importantly, in that buying committee from the first slide, full circle, it is not something that my champion can take and then replicate and pitch internally if I'm not thinking in their terms, if I'm not asking questions as if I'm part of their team, part of their business, you know?
Yeah, I buy a lot of tech now. I have a lot of empathy for sales reps. I don't want to be buying as much as maybe they sometimes don't want to be selling. We want to, you know, those are the bad words, but building a partnership is really what we're kind of working towards. I was so surprised when I started managing a tech stack. I was like, I request every time I request a demo, I get a discovery. I don't get a demo. And then the one time a company went right to demo, I was like, this is terrible. Those discoveries are 100% needed. I don't understand what I'm looking at. I don't understand why me, why now, why do I care? What's the benefit? So I love the idea of just really having a solid discovery, and not just the technical bits, but how you can elevate me, how you can elevate my organization, how we can partner for a long-term relationship. And I'm going to have to sell it internally. So you have to turn me into you. You have to make me be a mini seller for you. And I think that will help with kind of making that process go a little bit more quickly if you can do that sooner rather than later.
Yeah, those best sales reps, they anticipate. And if you're really good with linking sales to marketing, you can have collateral that helps move customers along on their own. So there's ways to institutionalize that too. I'm sure Jeff that's front and center in his mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's something we've been thinking a lot about lately. So yes, absolutely.
Awesome. I appreciate all of that. Oh, what's next? Oh, live Q&A. I'm excited. So we do have a few questions in the chat. Please continue to put your questions in there. I feel like I could have talked a lot longer about each one of these topics. It almost pained me to move on in between them because I just, they're not always black and white. They really are journey, each one of these things. And they're nuanced with your company, the size, the people, what you sell, who you sell to, the economy, and all that. So let me see. There was a question, Coast. If you could, whoever, I think it was Jeff, you mentioned Coast. Could you pop the link in there?
Yeah, it was actually Patrick who mentioned it, but I think it's trycoast.com.
Trycoast. Okay. I tried to look it up. I couldn't find it. And you mentioned reachsuite.io,
Yes.
I believe.
That's right. Reachsuite.io. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Curious what your board's view Your board's view is now on what effective deployment of capital means in 24 and into 25.
I mean, I'm going to punt on that one. We have an earnings call today, so we'll wait.
Ask him tomorrow. Excellent. Let me just look here. There was another question here. Give me 1 second. Less roles in general, maybe less handoffs for a buyer, but the comp for someone who can work across the entirety of a sales funnel will go up. That's true.
Yeah.
And the CAC will go down because tech enables people, because tech enables sales pros cost less over time than paying for people to manage them. Yes, I did. Sorry, I know you're typing fast there, Kevin. So I think it's kind of, in my opinion, does the SDR role change? Yeah, they become sellers. They move up they up level their skills, but then when are they just sellers? So I think we talked a little bit about that balance. Did anyone have a comment on that? So I'm trying to read. It's a little.
Oh, I think it's great. It reduces your cost, and it's what the buyer wants. They want less handoffs, right?
I totally agree.
It's just like you've been buying software, yeah.
But honestly, do I care how many handoffs I have? If someone's my biggest problem is support. I can list right now very quickly the tech I have with the crappiest support. And it drives me nuts. I try my best to figure out something on my own. If I have a quick question, I just want a quick answer. I think support is the most important. I don't care who helps me with my renewal, as long as you're knowledgeable. Support is just, whether it's a customer success rep or support, just be there for me. Really, that's super important to me.
Yeah, I will say, that's big for me as well. And, it's also lame when you get these handoffs with like, hey, I'm your new rep or I'm your new renewal. Like someone swoops in for the renewal. I've never met you before. And they're trying to give you some sweetheart deal. And it just feels very transactional.
Yeah.
Can't stand that.
I'm happy. Just send me the quote and then we'll talk.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm renewing 40 pieces of tech a year. Like it's a lot. I don't want to meet with you. Maybe, I don't know, this is me being, I don't want that demo. I do, or I don't want that discovery. I do. But if you're tried and true and we have a good relationship, don't take the chance to make it bad.
Yeah,
I agree.
There was another question in there. I don't know if maybe more relevant here, but it's how do you handle a 30% drop in discovery meetings in 24? Jeff, are you seeing a massive drop to that amount, 30% drop in discos?
No, fortunately, no. We seem to have skirted that one, but yeah. Are you?
I mean, again, our big thing is trying to have a point of view around a new product and plant a seed in somebody's mind. So we don't necessarily measure it in a discovery call that way. We measure it through pipe, and we're seeing pipeline up. So I don't necessarily see that same metric the way the question was posed. Yeah.
I don't think we're seeing a drop a little, not that big, but we're seeing the differences where our the meeting's coming from. We've really pushed outbound and events, and just like you said, talking to people, getting them interested. So I think we've just seen a shift in where it's coming from, a little bit of a drop, but not that much. Could have to do with market fit. If you're seeing that type of drop, I'd be a little concerned. Well, we've put in all of our LinkedIns. I think Eduardo is. Please connect with any of us. I do want to be mindful of time. So maybe we could do a quick takeaway. I'll just do it because it looks like we're super at time. Yeah. One of the things that I thought was very interesting about the survey was we did an emotions graphic to see what are people feeling. And some of the words that stuck out were determined, challenged, cautious, hopeful, confident, energized. there was some concerned and fantastic. I don't know who said fantastic, but I think and cautiously,
Salesperson.
yeah.
Definitely salesperson.
But I what I took on that was, while there was a spectrum of emotions, the bigger emotions were the more hopeful ones, and the smaller emotions were the ones that were like concerned or confused. Those were presented less frequently. So I hope that going from 2023, where we had a lot of challenges around revenue and growth, that we took that time to set the foundation, to get through our backlog, to investigate new processes, tech, and we'll take that into the remaining half of 2024 and grow your business.
Love it. Thanks for having me. I mean, we're heading into September. Budgets are opening for next year. People are starting to buy again. We're back to school. It's that time.
Right. We need some back to school specials. And if you're in the Bay Area, go to OpStars during Dreamforce. It's a free event. You get to kind of have this geek out session that we had today, but in person with multiple people in revenue. And it's a great place to learn and network. So hopefully we'll see you at OpStars in September on the 18th.
Awesome. I will add a link for an Upstarts registration to the follow-up email to the audience. Speakers, thank you so much for joining me here today. I had a lot of notes. You're all golden medalists in the MSP Olympics. Audience, thanks so much for joining us today. You are the best part of MSP. And again, this was recorded. I just put a link in the chat for you to download the report. So make sure you're downloading the report and seeing the full information in there. And then you can connect the dots with what the speaker said today. The recording will be available later today, and I will also add the speaker's LinkedIn's to the follow-up email. So pay attention to my email. A lot of important things will be there. Speakers, again, thank you so much. You're free to go. Audience, I will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.